But then he said, but whenever you see that word but, there's always some kicking going on. If there be no interpreter, right? Let him do what? Let him. Now notice they didn't say a she. This is talking about the masculine gender. He said, let him keep silence in the church or in the congregation, in the assembly, or the mikra, as we say in Hebrew. Keep silent in the mikra, and let him speak to himself and to Yah.
For ye may all prophesy one by one, that all may learn, and all may be comforted.
Okay.
And the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets.
Mm-hmm.
For Yah is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints.
So now, do we see a central theme in this passage? The central theme is confusion. That's all he's talking about, confusion. Everything, every gift that he gave an example of, he was talking about, let's not bring confusion with the gift, right? All right, let's continue.
Let your women keep silence in the churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law.
Okay, stop there. Now we got something here we can go with. He says, let your women. The first thing, before I go even further, I want to deal with this word women. The word for women is the Greek word gune. Gune, which means wife. Because see, Shaul now starts talking about the law. Every woman is not a wife. Every wife is a woman, but every woman is not a wife. Let me say it again. Every woman is not a wife, but every wife is a woman. So in the Hebraic text, the word for woman is Isha Nashim, which is translated woman or wife. Okay? But it has to be in context. Every woman is not a wife or it has a husband. Okay? You may be a woman but not be a wife, because every woman is not a wife. All right. So now when he says let your women be silent, he's talking about let your wives be silent. See the difference? He's not saying let all women be quiet, because every woman didn't have, and we're going to show you what he's talking about in the law. Every woman didn't have a husband. So when he said let your women be silent in their mikra or the assembly, for it is not permitted unto them to speak. Okay? Now, that added even more to the confusion, because he says it's not permitted for them to speak. Now, is that true or false? Did the Most High forbid women to speak? No, he did not. So what we got to see is we got to see what Shaul was talking about, because he said, watch what he says further. He says, but they are commanded to be under obedience. We can see that in law. We're going to say where that is in Torah. And also says the law. Okay. They're commanded to be under obedience, as also says the law. So we know from the context that he's not talking about every woman. He's talking about a woman who is a wife. Not every woman. So you can't keep women silent. You'll never be able to do it. Keep a woman silent. You can't beat a woman talking. That's my issue. Should tell you, you brothers, you can't be the woman talking. Okay? It's not in our nature to beat them talking. Right? And this is not what he's talking about. Let women be quiet. No. He's talking about the wives to be, as he says, in obedience, as it says in the law. Okay? All right? Now, we're going to show you what the law says, right? We're going to clarify this and we're going to be done with this lesson. All right? We're pretty much done, but we want to confirm what our beloved brother Shaul is saying, so we'll stop putting these oppressing the Israelite sisters and saying you can't speak. Okay? Send me an email, ask Malachi, and Malachi, ask Malachi, I'm so used to my website, ask Malachi at gmail.com. Okay? Maybe we'll get that website going back. What I want to do is let's go to Genesis chapter 3. Genesis chapter 3. We're going to show you what he's talking about in the law of the wife, not all women, the wife being what? Obedient to the husband. And then we're going to deal with this other part where he says it's not permitted for them to speak. Okay, we're going to deal with that. Okay. Second, but first we're going to deal with them being obedient. So we're going to show you what the law said, right, about the wives being obedient, right? Chapter 3, verse 6 through 16.
And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of Yah walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yah amongst the trees of the garden. And Yah called unto Adam, and said unto him, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? And the man said, The woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. And Yah said unto the woman, What is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And Yah said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee.
Okay, that's good. So now, what did the Most High say to Kawhi? We all know about the part where he said, I will greatly multiply thy conception, right? But then also the other part he said, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. Now, just what is he saying there? He's saying that she's going to have a desire for her husband? Or is this something new? She didn't desire her husband before, but now all of a sudden because of the curse she's going to desire her husband? That's not what it's saying. Okay? Now, let's look closely at what the Most High said And then when we see this, we'll understand why Shaul said for the wives to be under obedience, as says the law, right? So in verse 16, look at the word for desire, right? And thy desire. Okay. This is something that I learned years ago. It helped to bring clarity to something that was somewhat confusing to a certain extent. But let's look at it in the Hebrew text.
Teshukal. The original sense of stretching out after, a longing.
Okay. So the word desire 8669 refers us to 7783, and 7783 says a primitive root to run after or over, that is to overflow. So the Most High told Kawah, he says your desire, right, you will have in you, right, a desire as a result of the curse to overflow, to run after or over your husband. But it says he shall rule over thee. So that explains why, and a lot of times women don't see it, but that explains why that it's hard for a woman, who's especially a strong woman, to be under submission of a man who's a weak man. Case in point, Ahab and Jezebel. Ahab was a weak man, Jezebel was a strong woman. She controlled him, right? A woman who's strong don't need to be in a relationship with a man who's weak, because as a part of the fallen nature, she will run over him and not realize that she's doing it, or realize or understand why she's doing it, if she knows that she's doing it. If she knows, right? That was a result of the fall. That's why the Most High told Kawah, he said, your desire shall be to your husband. So somebody said, well, brother, I don't believe that. Okay, we're going to show you another place where the Most High told somebody the exact same thing. We're all familiar with the story of Cain and Abel, right? Okay, so we go to Genesis 4, the very next chapter. Genesis chapter 4 and 4 through 7.
And Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And Yah had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. And Yah said unto Cain, why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? And thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted? And if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him.
See that? Same phrase, right? So now, why would the Most High tell Cain that his brother's desire would be to him, if this desire is talking about a desire for companionship? Huh? This is not talking about companionship. This is talking about a role of authority. He told Cain, if you do well, your brother's desire will be to him, but you will rule over him. Why? Because your obedience unto me is going to give you the headship. See, which leads to another point. A man is not going to be able to lead his wife if he's not leading or following the Most High. It don't work that way. You just, person not gonna just follow you if you're not following your head. you're going to have confusion going on. This is what Shaul was talking about in 1 Corinthians 14, confusion. You're not following your head, and you want your Isha to follow your head. Or to follow her head, rather. But you're not following your head, but you want her to follow you. That's a double standard. Even Shaul had enough sense to say, follow me as I follow the Messiah. He was saying that to his followers. Let's go to 1 Timothy 2. Okay, 1 Timothy 2 and 10 through 13 is what I want. Okay. First Timothy 2 and 10 through 13.
But which becometh women professing righteousness with good works.
Okay, I'm sorry. Read up just a little bit. That's in the middle of the thought. First Timothy 2 and verse 9. 2 and 9.
In like manner also, that women adorn themselves in modest apparel with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with braided hair or gold or pearls or costly array, but which becometh women professing righteousness with good works. Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence.
Go ahead.
For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression.
Okay.
Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing, if they continue in faith and charity and righteousness with sobriety.
So now, what do we see similar to 1 Corinthians 14 in this verse here? He's talking about the wife. Not all women, as we said, are not a wife. Every wife is a woman, but every woman is not a wife. So what he's talking about headship, the woman being in submission to her husband. That's what that's all he's talking about. Right? We haven't got nowhere else yet. We're dealing with the woman and her submission or her obedience to her husband, right? Who is obedient to his father, right? And then everything flows, right? Now, thus he says, let them learn in silence with all subjection. Okay? So now that helps us to understand now, or to bring clarity now to what was bringing a confusion in the camp. It wasn't all women that was bringing confusion. It was the wives who was not in submission to their husbands that was bringing confusion.